My name is Jamie Mulcahy. I'm from Des Moines, Iowa, in the United States, the Midwest. I'm 39 years old. I have two kids and I'm married. My oldest is Fox. He's 4. He's the one with epilepsy. And then I have another son that was born just like 2 weeks after Fox had his first seizure. So he's been along for this whole ride. And yeah. He immediately had a bad reaction to Keppra. Like it was off the charts behaviors, like terrible. And so I wasn't having any of that. Immediately I'm calling like, hey, I'm supposed to have an appointment with the neurologist. And they're like, yeah, we'll see you in 3 weeks. And I'm like, what do you mean? My son's having seizures. What do you mean we'll see you in 3 weeks? Like, no. So because like I was very upset and I got a call back right away. Like, oh, the doctor can see you tomorrow. I'm like, okay, perfect. So that's what started our like medication journey and switching. Gosh, it's crazy. Just rage. He was just mad he stopped napping. He would not nap. He was mad all the time. Like I remember we have like a toy fishing pole that's got a big magnet on the end, and he just, like swung that at me and I had this giant goose egg on the front of my head from that was my, like I'm at the neurologist, like, look what he's doing, like he's scratching my face and he's not himself. This isn't working. We're not doing Keppra. So she gave us a different one. I think the second one was valproic acid, I think is what we started then at that point and started to wean off the Keppra. But even then she tried to say, oh no, like that's just normal, that's normal. Just give him B6 and it'll be fine. Like, no, the B6 also isn't helping. And it was just so nonchalant. All of it was very like, I mean, I don't know. We don't know anything about seizures, so just deal with it. I don't know. Here's your Keppra. It was, and I couldn't handle it. So we went through it was also really hard because I was pregnant with my second son then, and he was due on March 12th, and this started February 1st. So all I'm thinking about is that he's coming, and I don't know how to deal with this, and I don't have the time for the behaviors either. So I've stayed on him we went through so many medications that first month. I want to say like 6 or something. We tried clobazam. That was even the worst, like peeing on the floor. And when his brother was born, he was on clobazam and I didn't trust them and to be in the same room together. Like I thought he would injure the baby. It was that bad. And that doctor here in Des Moines was not helpful at all. I don't even know how to talk about that experience. Luckily, I was able to then start care in Iowa City here at University of Iowa Children's Hospital. And it was night and day. And so we got done with the neurologist here and went there. And he recognized pretty quickly that I also wasn't going to be okay with just being on medications that were, not only that, but they also weren't stopping his seizures. And so we started the Keppra. And for like a week, maybe he wasn't having seizures. And then it was like exactly a week later, 5 o'clock in the morning, having a seizure. So, not only was it not working, but he was also having the behaviors, and all of the medications were like that. It would work for like a week and then the seizures would come back. And then they also started to change. Most of it was just turning him into, I mean, he didn't even look like the same kid. When I look back at pictures from that time, they're just like kind of shells of themselves almost, and you just look at them and like, this isn't my child. The rage, I want to say, was most of them just rage and just general, like just not behaving well. And like I said, the Keppra caused him to stop taking naps, and then felbamate was one of the medications that actually helped the most. But well, besides the, I guess, behavioral side effects of the medications, also physical, like felbamate was helping with his seizures a lot, but it's also like terrible on your liver. And so, we're having labs done all the time to make sure his liver's not failing and, things like that. And so it's just, it's just wild. I mean, I've never been a big medication person anyway. So, I mean, and so maybe that helped too, was that I paid attention before I ever thought that this would be something I'd have to deal with, of course, like Charlotte, you know what I mean? From Charlotte's Web, like you see cases like that. And I've always known that if something like that happened to my child, that isn't how I would want to deal with it. Like you can, even seeing things like that, you can see like obviously kids are not doing okay on these medications. Like when you see the way that they are. So it was just a general sense that he is not the same kid. And he already had a speech delay when this started. So I don't know if that was all related, but it got even worse. He wasn't learning how to talk at all. So that was also terrible. Then he was starting to regress in all other areas. And that's what when they did the EEG told me was, like his brain activity in the background is slow. And that's what, and so all I'm seeing now is he's like, this is it. His life is over. I'm watching my child die is what it felt like. It was the worst time in my life. I can't even, like, being pregnant and then freshly postpartum and also dealing with that it was terrifying. And maybe that helps too, because I knew that something had to change. I don't know. It was just a matter of not accepting less than perfect, I guess. He's not okay on these medications. I'm not doing this. Like this is not working. There's nothing about this that's working. And so I had asked first, I'm not in a state where they're okay with medical marijuana or CBD. They are a little more now, but it's not something that people are on board with. So I briefly mentioned CBD or Epidiolex to my doctor, and he was like, I think that MAD is more likely to work, so let's try that. And I'm like, I mean, what else do you do? Because I'm not watching my child having seizures. So I was ready to try anything and stop this. Like I started seeing a holistic pediatrician. I was doing all the things already anyway. And so when we started MAD, he was on felbamate, valproic acid, and another one I can't remember now. And I feel so lucky that I can't remember what it was called. But I want to say, I mean, like right away, it reduced his seizures greatly. Within 2 weeks, I would say he was seizure-free, starting MAD. So it started February 1st of 2024. By June of 2024, he was seizure-free. And so, yeah, we've been doing MAD last year, and I feel so lucky. I wanted my child to be who he was supposed to be. So I knew, even when of course, there was a little bit of resistance to wanting to start the diet because that sounds really hard when you first hear it. But I knew that I would do everything I could to make his seizure stop. Like I will do anything in the world. So as hard as it sounded, they're like, to make the transition slowly so it's not so hard for him. But I could, like, knowing that the food I'm giving him, like when we kind of did experiments too, like before we started even, like, are you sure that it's the sugar? And then we'd give him something that has sugar and he immediately has seizures like a couple minutes later. You're like, okay, nope. So we made the transition like right away too, because I guess, I don't know. I couldn't just keep giving him the things knowing that it was happening. So it, like, within a couple of days, I had him down to the 10 carbs. And I'm lucky. I, again, feel really lucky that it's all worked out the way that it has. My biggest struggle with it probably has been, it's hard for me to do the recipes because most keto recipes end up, there's like quite a few grams of carbs per serving. Like I'm kind of weird. If there's more than 1 gram of carbs per serving, I won't give it to him because you can only have 10 a day. So I'm like really choosy about it. So it's hard for me to do like meals for the whole family. So a lot of times I end up feeding my kids like the same thing, and I'll give the other one a little more, because he needs the fruits and vegetables. But then my husband and I that's been harder for me to make meals for the whole family. So I'm kind of falling behind in like eating myself. So that's one thing I would tell people to work on, I guess, is finding family meals in a way to like, I tend to feel guilty. Like if I want to eat something that he can't have, I feel guilty about that. So then I just don't eat. And I don't think that's the way to handle it at all. but I feel really guilty. And I do that about a lot of things. He's now a lot better about when I tell him, I'm sorry, you can't have this. There are things that are different, things that are healthy for you and things that are healthy for mommy or whatever, that's just not healthy for you, but it's healthy for me right now. That's one of the hardest parts about it, I think, is stuff that he loves, or even, asking me for fruit. Like, can I have a banana? And I have to be like, no, you can't have a banana. I think it was June 17th of last year is the last time I logged the seizure. And at that point, he was having mostly just drops in the myoclonic jerks. I can't remember when we decided to wean the first medication, but the first one to go was Keppra. And then, yeah, and then so I right away started weaning the meds. So I think we're officially off of all of the medications. We did one at a time, and I think we're officially off all of them January of this year. So he's been med-free now for this time. I think, yeah, to the beginning of January to now. And I had no issues at all in weaning the medications. I had no breakthrough seizures or anything. He takes the one medication that he has left is called levocarnitine, and it just helps your liver process fat. So you can make the best of it. And then he just takes like multivitamins and stuff like that. And then honestly, and they do monitor his cholesterol. And so that's all been fine. If he remains seizure-free for 2 years, which would be June of next year, then they would do a repeat EEG to see what it's like. And then at that point, we would talk about maybe trying to come off the diet if we wanted to. So that's where we're at with it right now. It's going to take a little bit. If you're seeing any seizure reduction, that's already an improvement. So stick with it. And I don't know, keep using this Facebook page, this website. People like me, there are lots of other people that are looking at it all the time. If you have any questions, please reach out, find somebody that you can just ask your questions to. And don't give up. Certainly not yet, because it will be such a miracle if you're able to wean your child off of those drugs, or yourself, whoever you're doing this for. This is such a miracle treatment. And I'm reading that this is also a treatment for lots of other things too. It's not just, and so that's why I know now that I have had no idea that keto was originally even started for epilepsy. Like even when they told me that when we started, it didn't sound like it was made for epilepsy, just that it treats it. But keep going, because this is a way better direction than keeping to take the drugs. That's for sure.